What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another scouting report for you guys, and we're going to be focusing on our second signing from the January transfer window, and that is Rodrigo Bentancur, who scored a worldie last night for Uruguay inside the first minute. So
should we be expecting more of that? Or
well, I don't know about that. It depends if you want to listen to Giuseppe or what did you call him?
Grambappe.
Then maybe. But he definitely called it, didn't he? He said he's going to score within his first 5 games. Mate, it wasn't for Tottenham, but he definitely scored within his first 5 games.
Outside the box, they all count. They all count. Great finish as well. Not known for being much of a goal scorer, in his career, especially since being at Juve, and he scored two goals and during his whole time at Juventus. So I think I don't think it's something we should come to see on a regular basis, but it's nice to see he has it in his locker.
Yeah, apparently, apart from that, he had another shot that the keeper made a really good save for. Nearly got 2 on the night. But yeah,
Conte's already making an impact.
Yeah, but Lo Celso also had worldies for Argentina. So I'm not going to be reading too much into that. But what we're doing today in this video, we're going to be looking at the stats, delving deep into Bentancur's stats, and we're going to be comparing them to Harry Winks, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and Ollie Skip. I'm really excited to see the numbers in this one, so let's get straight into it.
Yeah, so I guess the question mark with Bentancur has always been, what kind of midfielder are we getting? Is this someone just another Højbjerg or Winks and Skip, or is he someone who offers something completely different to what we already have, or is he just similar to what we have but a better version of it? If you look, these are his obviously his stats for the last 365 days playing in Serie A for Juventus. As you can see, these are his metrics per 90 minutes, and these are the percentiles, which represent how high up he is in terms of the numbers. So if he's in the 82nd percentile, only 18% of players, he's in the top 18% of players for these stats, basically. These are like, obviously, these are like offensive stats. As we said before, he's not the most offensive player, that's why they're pretty poor. But when you get to the passing stats, they get a lot more encouraging. He makes quite a few passes per game, for passes completed 53.
What are his progressive passes like?
Progressive passes, so you got key passes, which is 1.02, that's 68th percentile, which is not bad. Progressive passes, 5 per game, so 73rd percentile. That's for the last year. But I know we've heard that he's, in different seasons, especially apparently the one under Sarri, he was much better in different roles. So maybe we'll look at that in a bit longer later. In terms of long passes, he completes 75% of his long passes. That's the 72nd percentile. So that's not bad.
How many does he attempt?
Attempts only 8 long passes per game. So that's 50th percentile. So it's not. Okay. So only like midway, doesn't attempt too many basically, but he's pretty accurate with them.
Well, if the stats are right, or what they're suggesting that he is good at them, you imagine Conte to really utilise that, wouldn't you?
Definitely. Passes under pressure, 90th percentile. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about Bentancur. Actually, is that he's actually quite really good in high pressured situations. And when he gets pressured in the middle of the park. And that tells out in the stats, doesn't it?
That definitely leads into it. Shot creating actions, which is interesting. 2.51 per game, 77th percentile. It's pretty high for an attacking position. Then you get to defensive stats, and then they're pretty strong. Tackles 1, 81st. Tackles and tackles 1.9 tackles 1 per game. He's not that good at tackling players who dribble, but pressures. 88th percentile, successful pressures, he's pretty good. Pressuring in the attacking third as well, he's quite high up on the list there. Interceptions, it's not just hard work. Is he good at tackling? Is he actually good at that role? Seems to be. Interceptions, 92nd percentile. Tackles and interceptions per game, 5.32, 90th percentile in Serie A. So that's pretty solid.
Is there a metric on this for like errors?
Errors, yeah, 0.03 per game, which is the 25th percentile.
Okay,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, because some Juve fans on Twitter and what people are telling us is that he has made quite a few like high-profile errors.
I guess
maybe they're just like so pissed off with that Porto game, and that's all they're talking about.
That could be that, but also errors here. It depends how you define an error, I guess. If you let someone run off you, does that count as an error, or is it literally just like passing it to someone who scores? Depends how they define it.
So there's no real metric for like an error that's not like passing it to another player.
I guess so. Yeah,
so you can't really gauge that. You have to judge on that on the eye test, basically.
Correct. Yeah, basically for things like that. For example, depends how you define an error. That's the whole thing. In terms of carries and stuff, also pretty decent. 80th percentile for carries. Carries into the final third, pretty high up as well. 74th percentile for this is for centre mids in midfielders, so that's pretty good. Yellow cards, he gets quite a few, but as I said, interceptions, tackles one, he's very good. This is just for the last year in Serie A, but if you like go back even further, like it's pretty consistent. This is this season he had under Sarri, which apparently he was pretty good in this season. Key passes, where's key passes gone? Key passes here, it was down, but his long passing completion, 89th percentile, is a bit higher. Where are we? Passes. If you scroll down, so shot creation is pretty low, but if you go to defensive stats, they're still pretty high. Interceptions, 92nd percentile again. Tackles, interceptions, still pretty high. His tackling has definitely improved. Clearly, as you can see, his tackling was a lot worse back then. But they're fairly. A lot of these stats are fairly consistent in terms of what he's good at. Carries, he's not terrible. So yeah, I mean, I think what we can gather at the moment, what he's definitely good at, is I think passing from deep here in this season as well. This is his season under Pirlo. His long range passing going even better, 85th percentile. Key passes going up, 86th percentile under when he was playing for Pirlo at 1.84. Progressive passes only 4, so that was a bit down in that season. Shot creating actions though 3.1, that's pretty high.
Pirlo imprinting his own stuff onto him.
And as you can see here, look at the defensive stats, very, very strong. Interceptions, again, always very strong again. Tackles, strong. So he's very clearly he's pretty well-rounded midfielder. He's pretty good at passing the ball from deep, fairly good at, he makes a few progressive passes, maybe more attacking than your average defensive midfielder. And he's also... He can also carry the ball into the fight. He doesn't usually get into the penalty area much, but clearly he can carry the ball and pass the ball into the final third with some regularity and some accuracy, which is pretty good.
Which is exactly what we need, to be honest. It's exactly what we need from our central midfield players. It's going to be interesting to see how he does stack up against Winks, Højbjerg and Skippy.
Yeah.
But from the outset of just looking at the stats, I know it's hard to judge a player just on stats, but just looking at that, I mean... You've told me what it kind of tells you about the player, but are you happy with these kind of stats in terms of the player that we've brought in?
I mean, as well as he's 24 years old, so he does have scope to improve. But what it does tell me is he's very similar to what we do have, and I think the stats bear that out. And also, we'll get into it, the comparison that we have compared to the other players. He does have very similar numbers, but I do think he has potential to be a slight upgrade. And I think as well, he has the potential to be a bit better at passing than from deep than the players we have now. So I don't think they're exceptional, but they're pretty good. I would say his underlying stats in terms of where he lies in the percent, especially his defensive stats, very strong.
So we'll get into the stats of the Spurs boys. I mean, the Skip, Winks, and Højbjerg in a minute.
In a minute, yeah, go on.
In a minute, but. You know, when you're talking about, everyone was talking about when we brought him in, he's very similar to what we've got. Not too much difference in terms of quality and what they actually produce on the pitch. I'm going to be interested to see if that's the case with the stats.
Yeah. So let's look at it then. So this is comparing Højbjerg's time at Tottenham, Winks' time at Tottenham, Skip's time at Tottenham, and
Their whole time.
Sorry. Skips. I think it includes Skips Norwich, his Norwich loan, and Bentancur's whole time at Juventus.
Okay.
So, if we're looking at here, obviously this is just like attacking stats. That's not how midfielders are judged. But if we're just taking very base, his expected assists are higher than everyone, only slightly though. It's not a very big.
Who's his highest?
Bentancur is the highest at 0.09, but it's not a very big sample size because everyone's is very low. So 0.09 is the highest, but everyone else is pretty low, and so can't really judge too much there. When it comes to maybe if you're looking for your centre mid to get more shots off, he gets the most shots off. Still doesn't get too many on target. He has a pretty low shot on target ratio, but he does get more shots off. Tends to get more shots off than Højbjerg, Skip, and Winks. But again, still they're all very low. Like his is less than a shot a game, and so is everyone else's. So it's not too much to gather from there. If we're looking at the passing though, if you're looking passing from deep, first of all, short range passing, everyone's in the 90%. He's like third, but it's nothing. Nothing to get worried about. When it medium passing, everyone's again in the 90%. Where it gets a bit interesting is long range passing. He seems a lot stronger. When completed passes, 78.7%. Again, everyone's pretty tight, but he seems to be the most accurate from long range passing.
Also, what you got to remember is that under Jose Mourinho and under Nuno, Højbjerg, Winks, and obviously Skip because he didn't play under them, but they didn't attempt that many long passes under these managers, and they really started to bring this stuff into their game when Conte has come, and obviously Winks before went under Poch.
And it's a very big element of the game because with those wing backs stretching so far, you need to be able to find them on a regular basis.
So the stats in that kind of sense are a bit clouded because of the managers we've had.
No, but this is talking about percentage of long passes completed when they've made them not attempted. If you look at long passes attempted, he's actually third to Winks and Højbjerg.
Oh wow, okay.
So, but when you look at like how the percentage of completed, he tops it only just about by a percentage point. But when you look at maybe a centre mid, which one of these centre mids are going to influence the game more in the final third or going forward, than each other, seeing as they're all defensive mid, they're all supposed to be all action players, all key passes, he leads the way quite significantly. 1.24 compared to Winks, who's second at 0.72, and Højbjerg and Skip are pretty low down, 0.58, 0.44. And this completed passes that enter the final third, he's third to Winks and Højbjerg, who both ahead of him. Completed passes into the penalty area, they're all very close. Skip lagging behind there, he has 0.75. But progressive passes, he's also third to Højbjerg and Winks, who both make more progressive passes than him per 90 minutes. So he's not. Again, the numbers are very similar, but he's doesn't seem to be that much more progressive on the outset. Maybe that's something he can develop more at Tottenham.
So basically, judging by these stats, what I was talking about before in terms of the thinking of the fan base is pretty spot on in terms of they're all very similar to each other.
Yeah, he seems to be a bit more able to create, like his key passes are a lot higher. So he seems to be able to, when he does get into final third positions, maybe he's more able to make something happen than maybe a Højbjerg or a Winks is when he does get into the final third. But it does seem like when he's in the deep position, he's not that much more progressive than the options that we already have. When we're looking at
but again, if he's got those tools, that maybe when he does get into those positions, he's better on the ball and got better attributes and all that kind of stuff, then you would expect that Conte can really kind of bring out the good in him, even from deep.
Yeah, and also means that we know Højbjerg and Winks and Skip don't get many goals and assists. I'm not expecting Bentancur to do much better, but it does show, like, for example, if Højbjerg is going to get, if Winks is going to get like 1 goal and 1 assist, maybe Bentancur will get like 3 goals, 3 assists, something like that. Just a bit better production, and that goes as well with the shot creating actions. He's well ahead of the others. Let's bring that up. Per 90 minutes shot creating actions, he's at 2.66, whereas Højbjerg is the next one down at 1.7.
Wow.
And Winks is 1.5 and Skip's 1.3.
So double.
Yeah. So he is much better at creating something than the other guys when he gets in these positions. So in terms of goals or anything, not much to say there. There's not much difference. But in terms of key passes and shot creating actions, he's definitely much higher than the ones we got. But when it comes to defensively, tackles per game, tackles won per game, pretty spot on with Højbjerg, to be honest. Very, very similar. He's ahead of Skip and Winks, way ahead of Winks. Winks is way down at 1.6, but Bentancur is 2.88.
What was Skippy?
Skip is 2.2, so bit of a not as different. He makes a lot more tackles in the final third, though, in the attacking third than the other players. It means he's much more adept to maybe pressing the opposition high up the pitch. He also makes more pressures in the middle third, but it's very similar to Højbjerg, much more than Skip and Winks, though. He's quite good at pressuring, which is good. When it comes to attacking dribblers, though, he's a lot worse than Højbjerg, who's our best one, and then Skip's next, and then it's Bentancur at third. He gets dribbled past second to Bentancur, to Højbjerg, in second 1.61 times dribbled pass per 90 minutes. But he definitely pressures the most. He 23 pressures per game compared to Højbjerg, who we thought pressures a lot, and he pressures more than Højbjerg.
What's Højbjerg's number?
20. And Skip's 19, and Winks is all the way down at 16. So he does 8 more pressures per game than Winks. Successful pressures, he's also up there, and the percentage as well, 29%. He's much better than Skip at 25%. Very similar to Højbjerg and Winks, though. And also pressuring in the midfield third, and the midfield and attacking third, he's way ahead. Tackles, interceptions, he's pretty much he's level interceptions with Højbjerg, and he's much better than Winks and Skip. 1.69 compared to 1.43, 1.24. And then tackles, interceptions are near identical to Højbjerg, literally 4.57 and 4.56.
Wow.
So very, very similar tackle and interception rate to Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. So in terms of defensively, I would say he keeps pace with what we have. He's not way out ahead. He maybe puts a bit more pressure on than what we have, and has a bit more success in his pressures, but he's not like in another league to what we have. He's very similar defensively wise, and especially to Højbjerg. His stats are very, very similar to Højbjerg defensively.
It's interesting. I mean, when you're looking at a 3-4-3, looking at these stats, who would you say probably complements him the best in the two in midfield, or who do you think our best two are?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Maybe I think it lends to the theory that maybe it could be one of Højbjerg and Bentancur in the team, and then connects to Winks or Skip potentially. Because
so you think Bentancur and Højbjerg will be fighting for one spot, and Skip and Winks will be fighting for another?
I guess they could play together, Højbjerg and Bentancur, but they are extremely similar. Like maybe too similar in a way. But maybe that's what he wants, just two all-action players who can do the same thing. That is possible, I guess.
But that's what kind of we have been saying about Højbjerg and Skip. Like they're too similar next to each other.
Yeah, they're even more similar. So I think
they're all very similar, aren't they?
Yeah, but the thing is with Højbjerg though, is he's actually not like he's good defensive midfielder, but he's also a bit of an all-action guy. He actually can like do stuff in the final. He's not like a creative player, but he can do stuff in the final third. Like he can get a few assists and stuff. So if we have two of those players and they both do the most pressures as well, maybe we can cover more ground and put even more pressure on the opposition and make more tackles and interceptions, rather than Winks and Skip, who are lagging behind a bit in those defensive stats.
Yeah, I mean with Højbjerg and Bentancur in the midfield, you would suspect, like, because we have been overrun a few times in the midfield this season, you expect that should diminish that a little bit at least, because there's two all-action players in there, and they both are literally the ones with high pressures, high tackles. You would say that that's probably the way we're going to move forward potentially.
Yeah, it's good. I think he adds a good option. He adds another another player who has ability to be very solid defensively, and also maybe is a slight improvement on what we offer right now in centre mid in terms of in the final third, picking something out, creating a chance, a shot or something like that. I think he's a slight improvement on that, but it's difficult to say right now. As things stand, it looks like he's just very, very similar to what we have, our current options. You could arguably say he's a slight upgrade, but
it's very slight,
if anything. It's very give and take
by the stats anyway.
Yeah, and it also goes when you go into like progressive carries and stuff, where we talked about like Ndombele like to carry the ball and stuff like that. Again, he's third to Højbjerg and Winks, who like to carry the most progressive carries. He's second to Winks. Better than Højbjerg and Skip, but he's second to Winks. He's closer to Højbjerg and Skip than he is to Winks. Winks is a lot further. Then again, carries into the final third. He's third to Skip and Winks. And then carries into the penalty area. He's second to Skip, actually, who seems to top that one. So, and does he like a dribble? Actually, he does. He's the best dribbler. One successful dribble per game, and he will have the most dribbles attempted as well. So he's probably better dribbler than what we have. Our worst dribbler is Ollie Skip at 0.25. So there you have it.
All right, there you have it. That is our scouting report on Rodrigo Bentancur. If you want to check out the Dejan Kulusevski one as well, that is up on the channel. But let me know what you thought. Let me know what you thought of the stats. Do you think that judging by these stats, they are a bit too similar? Or do you think that they can do a job and Antonio Conte can make it work? So let me know in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.